This is Jocko Podcast number 92 with Echo Charles and me, Jocko Willink. Good evening, Echo.
Good evening.
The concept of finding an IED is relatively simple. It is essentially identifying what doesn't belong in the natural area in front of you. Before one proceeds, however, one must ensure that all of the Marines with them are at a safe distance such that if the searcher unintentionally detonates an IED during his investigation, the Marines he is with will not be harmed. The first step is to take a good look at where you are and where you plan to go. Identify anything that looks out of the ordinary with respect to nature. The world naturally doesn't often have patterns or perfect shapes. Essentially, you are looking for areas where you suspect man has been in contact with nature. When one patrols in the same area frequently, one can establish a baseline observation for what to look for and what the area looks like normally. Thus, on subsequent visits, it is possible to identify elements that are out of place. The next step is to investigate the route that you have chosen through this danger area. The three main tools used for this investigation are the eyeballs, a metal detector, and a cutting-edge digging device called the human hand. Proceeding slowly in a forward direction, one swings the metal detector in a fashion that covers every square inch of the chosen route. In order to do this, start with the metal detector to one side of the route and move it straight across to the other side, keeping the search head an inch or two above and parallel to the ground. Once it is across, move the detector forward half the length of the search head and swing it in the opposite direction to the original side of the route. This is a process that continues for the entirety of your time moving through the danger area. At some point during your movement along this route, you will want to investigate certain spots that you think may contain an IED. You can be alerted to these spots in multiple ways. From your early assessment before proceeding through the area, newly acquired suspicions as you move through the area, and also from sounds that your metal detector makes. The process of swinging the metal detector back and forth and inching forward is time-consuming. The best of the best are the ones that can optimize safety and keep time spent to a minimum. It is always better, however, to err on the side of caution except in the most extreme of emergencies. The investigation of a suspicious area must proceed with extreme caution. You start by kneeling down, being sure to be well balanced and stable. You must ensure that no gear is going to accidentally fall off or slip out and touch the ground. You reach out with your fingers, and with the gentleness of a butterfly landing on a daisy, move the dirt in front of the front edge of the metal hit. Proceed forward, a nanometer at a time in this fashion, uncovering more dirt over a wider space until you either find the metal that set off the detector or you are satisfied that there is no danger from this particular metal hit. If metal is found, the area must be rechecked to ensure that the metal was found was not a decoy. One may think that the tension during this time is akin to being Tom Cruise dangling inches above a motion sensor floor. But the necessity of having a clear mind and the amount of practice that has gone into this exact process makes it seem second nature and ordinary. After you are satisfied that you have cleared this suspicious area, proceed forward. As you move forward, you are also proofing the lane. that thing, proofing the lane or confirming that it's free from IEDs, is usually done with a special mechanical device, but it is now being done with your feet. And don't forget, as you go forward, to lay down markers for everyone else who comes behind you to follow. This is the way that I handled the situation I was now in. I inched forward with my metal detector. I didn't see anything special about the area. My metal detector was making noises, but nothing large enough that I thought it warranted an investigation. The Marines in our patrol watched and waited as I cleared and proofed the lane. Then it all went black. Now, that description is about as good as I have read about the act of searching for IEDs. And I actually never searched for IEDs in that type of method. And of course, in Ramadi, everyone was always searching for IEDs. You were always looking, you were inspecting. We were suspicious of every pile of rubble, every piece of junk on the road, every off-colored piece of dirt or pavement or concrete or sand. But we were in the city, and there was pedestrian traffic, and most of the IEDs were targeting vehicles, not foot patrols. But whether in a vehicle or on foot, the IED, for the most part, has been the biggest threat and the biggest cause of casualties in our recent wars. And for the enemy, it's a low-risk, high-reward weapon. And for us, it's an evil weapon. It's a cowardly weapon, and it is an effective weapon. It's a weapon that plants itself in your mind. Always there. Waiting. Around that corner. Under that curb, on the other side of that sidewalk. It's waiting. Now, there are those whose job it is to actually interdict that weapon, the IED. It is their job to face that fear up close and personal, day in and day out. You've got EOD, Explosive Ordnance Disposal, is one group that does it. Complete professionals. And the EOD technicians that I deployed with in the SEAL teams were just outstanding in everything that they did, which, by the way, was not only find and disarm IEDs. They also did everything that we did. They cleared rooms and patrolled through the streets and maneuvered in firefights just as the SEALs did. They were awesome. And in addition to EOD, combat engineers in the Army and in the Marine Corps also do mine clearance. And of course, I talk about combat engineers a lot because of the incredible role that they played in the Battle of Ramadi, and the combat engineers were outstanding in their standard job of building combat outposts and building and maintaining the infrastructure of the bases, and they were awesome in that performance under fire. But at some point, the combat engineer's job morphed into mine clearance. And it's because I would suspect, they work with demolitions. So combat engineers do breaches to doors and to walls. They build roads and bridges, and they also clear obstacles from roads and bridges. And so eventually, at some point, this morphed into combat engineers doing IED clearance, both on roads and then out on foot patrols. Now, there's jobs in the world that I wouldn't want to do. And this is one of them. It takes a massive amount of patience. It takes an incredible amount of skill. And it takes an incredible ability to overcome fear. If you're going to actually seek out and touch the very thing that is trying to kill you in order to stop it, that's a job that I didn't want then, and I don't want now. And I am thankful that there was others that stepped up and did that job. And I'm honored to have on the podcast tonight one of those brave men, a Marine Corps combat engineer who served in Iraq and in Afghanistan, and the guy, by the way, who wrote that opening description of what it was like to go out and hunt for IEDs. A guy by the name of Mr. Rob Jones.